Hello, everybody. Welcome to your Wednesday episode. It's not Wednesday, it's Sunday. I don't know what day it is. It doesn't even matter. Every day's the same once you hit a certain age, isn't it? I'm sure those of you old folks in the crowd can understand. Wednesday. Why do I think it's Wednesday? That would be like Thanksgiving Eve. But anyway, while I address my Alzheimer's, if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. And this episode is brought to you by Gatsby Trading Solutions. I got to hurry up and do as much stuff as I can this week before the extended holiday weekend, because people in the corporate world, they don't like to work on the Friday after the Thanksgiving. So it's going to be an extended weekend for me, for sure. Be a lot of football watching and probably Grayson County, Kentucky annoying. That's what I'm going to be doing. Let me take that off of there. Hi, Leslie. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Rachel. I'm typing. All right. So let's get into the statistics. It's Sunday. I haven't done anything. I've laid on the couch all day. I went to the gym and then I watched football. And I don't want to talk about it because Indianapolis got beat by the Chiefs and we were winning by a lot. And then we blew it. And the Patrick Mahomes had a miraculous come-from-behind victory. So gas prices, we're at $3.07 a gallon. Pretty much is hovering around that area. Mortgage rates have dropped again, thank God. We're at 5.990%, of course. Trump's approval rating is a little down, 42.7. The Dow Jones is also a little bit down, $46,245.41 is what the Dow closed at on Friday. Let's go. The Democrat Party, their favorability is now 34.1%. So we are going to talk a little bit about a lot of things today. We're going to start off with Trump. President Trump met with Zoran Mamdani. And I didn't know what to expect when I saw that they were going to meet. I was like, man, I hope this doesn't turn into a giant bloodbath between those two, because they haven't really been nice to each other in the press. So I did watch their press conference afterwards, and I was like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. So let's go down through it. So Donald Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, they met November 21st in the White House meeting room, and it was unexpectedly cordial, with both leaders emphasizing shared priorities like affordability, housing, and public safety, despite months of sharp rhetoric. They have been throwing a lot of jabs at each other. So after weeks of insults, the Oval Office meeting was marked by jokes, smiles, and even friendly pats on the shoulder. It was kind of like touchy-feely a little bit. Trump said that Mamdani could become the best mayor New York has ever seen. And I think, well, I'll tell you afterwards what I think, because we'll talk about it. So both leaders stressed that lowering the cost of living in New York City is a priority. Trump mentioned that tackling Con Edison's energy rates, while Mamdani highlighted housing affordability. That's not a so the socialist movement's request of lowering cost is not out of the question. That is something that we should be striving for anyway. Obviously, as Americans, we want to see our costs lowered. At least it looks like they went into the meeting saying, okay, well, let's talk about things that we can have common ground on and try to work towards that. So that was good. Trump backtracked on earlier threats to cut federal funding if Mamdani won, instead pledging to help him, not hurt him, which is, being the adult in the room. Obviously, you want your president to be a good ambassador. So they discussed ICE operations and keeping New York safe, with Trump saying, we're going to make sure that if there are horrible people, we want to get them out. And both men noted their Queen's backgrounds, using it as common ground to signal cooperation. So, it looks like they're going to be, somewhat, working together. Now that could change, as the Socialist Party clamps down pressure on President Trump. So at 30, Mamdani's only 34 years old. He's still young and dumb. And so he is the first Muslim and South Asian elected mayor of New York City. He's a Democrat socialist who defeated Andrew Cuomo in a stunning upset, because Andrew Cuomo already was a failure. So he thought he'd run again to see if he could be a less failure than Mamdani. Supporters had feared a televised ambush, but instead Trump praised Mamdani, repeatedly showing a rare conciliatory side. The meetings came amid Trump's lowest approval ratings of his second term, which they're down, but they're better than what they were in his first term, and he's still higher than what Joe Biden was. So despite ideological differences, both leaders found common ground on housing affordability and safety. For Mamdani, this was his first major national stage with on the diplomatic side of things, which navigated humor and composure. So he didn't do too bad. I thought he kind of speaks kind of like Vivek Ramaswamy a little bit. So I kind of see that a little bit. So for Trump, the meeting offered a chance to soften his image after a rough political week, which I thought he did. Trump did a good job on that. Now, what did the pundits say? So CBS and CNN basically emphasized Mamdani's composure and the symbolism of a Democratic Socialist mayor-elect being welcomed by Trump. Obviously, you can see where those two news stations lean. They're definitely socialist. Yeah, Rachel, I agree with you. I'm tired of the pissing matches too. I'm at the point where if New York wants a socialist mayor, they can have them. If it works, fantastic. If it fails, I told you so. Which we're going to talk about a little bit more of that here in a second. So CNN and CBS basically are praising socialism. So it sucks because I do watch a lot of different news outlets when I do my U.S. news and my global news, because I got to know what everybody's saying, and I don't like it because now I got to give ratings to CNN. So The Guardian and MSNBC, they focused on the ideological gulf, noting Mamdani's progressive platform on housing, immigrant rights, and suggesting Trump's praise was more about optics than genuine alignment. So Fox News and the New York Post, they framed the meeting as Trump was showing dominance and stressing his willingness to work with Mamdani despite differences. They highlighted Trump's comments about making Mamdani the best mayor New York City has ever seen as proof of his pragmatism. Breitbart Breitbart cast Mamdani as a radical figure, but portrayed Trump as the adult in the room. So those are good things. You're going to get to a couple different sides of that. So these are considered neutral news outlets somehow. So CNBC and USA Today focused on affordability and housing and shared priorities, presenting the meeting as a practical discussion rather than a political crash. They noted the Queen's connections as a symbolic bridge. They don't care. They don't care that they're both from Queens. It doesn't even matter. They keep making that a big deal. It's not a big deal. So the left outlets saw Mamdani's rise as a historic and Trump's friendliness as tactical. So they're not buying it. The socialists are not buying it. The right, they saw Trump as gracious and Mamdani as untested. The neutrals saw common ground on affordability and safety as headlines. So when I was at the gym this morning, they have like 10 different TVs going on when I was on the treadmill. And so I usually, in front of me, I've got Fox News, and then to the right is I've got ESPN, and then to the right of the right is CNN. So I'm always like flipping back and forth like this, but then it caught my eye on CNN. They were talking this morning on their Sunday morning show. I don't know what it's called. Bunch of idiots and table. I don't know. But they were talking about the headline, the banner read, Trump and Mamdani's love fest. So that tells me that CNN was not impressed with what Mamdani did. And I already know, because I as soon as I saw them on TV happy and giggling, I was like, man, Mamdani is going to hear it from the socialists, because 99.9% of the reason why these kids want to be socialists and follow Mamdani is because they hate Trump so much. It has nothing to do with socialism. They don't even know what socialism is, or the ramifications of buying into a full-fledged socialist government. So they want to they just, whatever it is, as long as it's opposing Trump, they're all in. And it's sad that they're all boxed into this ideology, and they can't think outside of the box of is there a better way other than socialism, other than hating Trump. I get it. I've got family members that think the same way. I've got a couple of Democrats in my family, and it doesn't matter. Trump could say everybody should be breathing the most beautiful air ever, and my cousin will be like, everybody stop breathing. So that's kind of how it goes. It's ridiculous, but it's how they think. It's really a sickness. I used to just think that they were just really radical, but now I think it's turned into a mental illness. So what do some of the big time progressives say about it? So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she said Mamdani's sit down shows that he's willing to sit down with anybody and everybody to advance his affordability agenda. AOC emphasized trust in Mamdani's leadership, not that he was elected to lead New York City and should be free to chart his own course. Yeah, Rachel, I'm gonna do more impressions because I've been practicing. I instead of working during the day, I usually stand in front of my mirror and do impressions. I've been told that I do the most perfect Randall Weddle ever. So I'm gonna bust it out because he did a speech this week. So many activists praise Mamdani for staying focused on affordability and housing. I really don't have a problem with the meeting that they had. Honestly, I 100% don't. I thought it was going to be a bad idea, but after seeing them talk, I realized that they sat down and they said, look, there's things of you I don't like, and there's things of me that you don't like. Let's throw that out of this room right now, and let's talk about the problems that we have that we can agree to solve. So I do want to say that I do believe that it generally probably was a productive meeting. Now, I do want to say that watching the mannerisms, because I do that, watching how they moved during the press conference, Trump definitely, with all his little touchy-feely, he was prompting. He kept prompting Mamdani to respond. And that's a sign of dominance. President Trump was constantly establishing dominance over Zoran Mamdani. So I liked seeing that. And it's pretty evident that that's what he did. At least to me it is. So some progressives warned against reading too much into Trump's praise. They stressed that Mamdani must remain firm on immigration rights. Whoop-de-doo, Basil. What does it all mean? They also want him to talk about climate justice and ending forever wars and all that stuff we've been talking about through like the last 2 years of election campaigns. So that's what I think. I think Trump was just basically saying, look, hey, I got other stuff to worry about right now. Let's just stick to what we can work on together and deal with the war later. Trump was even like, oh, it's okay. You can call me a fascist if you want. And like, it was just one of those things where he was just letting Mamdani know that you say all these dumbass things, but bro, I'm Donald Trump. I'm the president. It doesn't get to me. You don't get to me. So I thought Trump did a good job of establishing dominance. A lot of the liberals are going to disagree with me on that, but whatever. They don't even really watch my show anyway. They used to pop in, but now they don't. So Trump in the Ukraine. So Trump laid out some groundwork for a deal, and basically it's an ultimatum. So Donald Trump recently pushed a controversial 28-point peace proposal for Ukraine, setting a Thanksgiving deadline for Kiev to accept, while stressing that the plan is not my final offer. So this is an offer, but not the final offer. Trump said Ukraine has until Thanksgiving Day to agree to the U.S. brokered peace plan, though he added that deadlines can be extended if things are working well. He called Thursday an appropriate time for a discussion. When asked if this was the last proposal, he replied, "No, we'd like to get peace. One way or another, we'll get it ended." Trump's plan would require Ukraine to cede significant parts of the Donbas region to Russia, even areas not yet fully occupied, while maintaining fortified control over about 12% of the territory. The proposal caps Ukraine's armed forces at 600,000 troops, effectively cutting its military in half. According to CNN and the liberal media, there's so many dead Ukrainians, I can't even believe that there's even enough people to have a country anymore. You know how they want to make it so dramatic. In exchange, Ukraine would receive U.S. and European security assurances, while Russia would pledge non-aggression towards Europe and Ukraine. He argued Ukraine is losing land and will lose more in a short period of time, suggesting the deal is a pragmatic solution to stop further losses. Trump said, if Zelensky rejects the plan, then he can continue to fight his little heart out all by himself. A little old Zelensky, you can fight it all by yourself, little buddy. Maybe you can do one of your little dances. Do a dance for Putin. Serenade him with a dance. That'll teach him. But President Zelensky warned the plan forces a very difficult choice, either loss of dignity or loss of losing a key partner, and reiterated Ukraine's red lines: no recognition of Russia control, no limits of its right to self-defense. European leaders criticized the proposal as Putin's wish list, but Europe's not running the show, so they can just pipe it. Even some Republicans expressed criticism, saying Ukraine should not be forced to give up its later military. Let me guess who said that. Lindsey Graham. Imagine that. Mr. I make all my money off of Ukraine war. And General Jack Keane, too. Well, we got to go to war with the Ukraine. We've got to give them all the weapons that they need. We're not giving them weapons, Jack Keane, just so you can get rich. Get out of here. Get. Next big news. Marjorie Taylor Green resigns from Congress. So Effective January 5th of 2026, Marjorie Taylor Green announces that she is going to be resigning from her post in Congress. Green confirmed her last day in office will be January 5th. The reason, she says, she cites her fallout with Trump, saying his recent attacks were hurtful and that she refused to be battered wife, hoping it all goes away. Trump called her resignation great news for the country, accused her of plummeting poll numbers, and mocked her alliance with Representative Thomas Massie. And he branded her a traitor on Truth Social. In her statement, Green blasted what she called the political industrial complex and said she never fit in with Washington. She vowed to continue fighting for America first outside of Congress. Green broke with Trump on several issues in recent weeks, including releasing of the Epstein files, the war on Gaza, and extending Obamacare subsidies. She even questioned whether Trump embodies the America First agenda anymore. Her resignation tightens Speaker Mike Johnson's already slim majority. A special election will be called by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp in 2026 to fill her seat. I've already been looking into some of the people that are going to be probably a high priority candidate to be appointed. I think it's not really going to matter who's sitting in that seat. It's going to her area in Rome, and in that area, Rome, Dalton, Georgia, some of them areas around there. It's a very and I guess she's part of like North Cobb County too somehow, but her district goes like quite a ways. But it's a heavy red area. It doesn't matter who they put in that seat. It's going to be a red seat forever. A lot of horse farms out there. Beautiful, beautiful countryside, though. So Green was first elected in 2020 and became one of Trump's fiercest defenders. In Congress, her resignation underscores deepening fractures inside MAGA movement. With loyalty tests to Trump now reshaping Republican dynamics. So Marjorie Taylor Green started off she started off as a conspiracy theorist. Then she kind of changed it. And you know, Rachel, that's kind of how it is. I'm going to try to get a hold of her staff and see if she'll talk to me. But what I see with her is, so Marjorie Taylor Green was insider trading. That's a fact. Everybody knows it. She's one of those that made a bunch of money while in Congress. So for her, she can't really question Donald Trump's America First policy because she is a Marjorie Taylor Green first type of person. Do I hate Marjorie Taylor Green? No, there was a lot of good that I think that she did. But I think she got to the point where she got divided in her own ideology. And instead of keeping herself together for the good of the party, she went radical and jumped on the Thomas Massie train. So sayonara, you're gone. Next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a case in Pike County that just concluded this week, and it's one that I'm heavily opinionated on. I've been watching it for a while now, and there's actually a lot of content to it, so we're going to get to it. This involves, at the time of the incident, a 17-year-old Brandon Lee Poston. Might be Poston. It probably is Poston. But he's from Floyd County, I believe, but he got in trouble in Pike County. He was just recently sentenced to 8 years in prison for his role in a 2024 Pikeville parking garage shooting. Hey, Bonnie, happy Thanksgiving. I just started the Kentucky stuff, so you're right on time. So Brandon Poston, so he got into it with these bunch of jabronis called the Bypass Gang. the bypass gang. It's a bunch of morons that think they're doing something, but really they're just running around jumping people. There's several videos floating around of their handiwork all over social media. And I'm going to show you one that led to this situation. Maybe. Maybe. Here we go. So this is a fight that happened, kind of. So I'm going to tell you there's graphic language in here. So if you don't like language, please mute it. And it's rated I for idiots fighting.
Tiffany!
As you can see, they fight very badly. This dude in the green's carrying around a knife.
Nobody jumping in or I'm touching you.
Stand back.
Get out my hands, Mark.
Seriously, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, get in the house. Brandon. Get out him, Brandon. Keep it running. He just pulled a gun. He just pulled a gun. He don't have one.
So as you can see from the video, the kid who was deflecting the flying ninja guy, he is the one who just got sentenced to 8 years. So what has happened in this situation is the young man. Let me get rid of this off my screen. So the young man, Mr. Poston, Brandon, he was getting harassed by these guys for some time. They were constantly trying to jump him. There's videos of these guys stalking him. There's another situation where I guess they stabbed a girl. These guys are running around doing all kinds of mayhem. And so Brandon gets tired of it. He starts carrying a gun because he fears for his life because these guys are after him all the time. As you can see, somebody pulled a gun out in the video, or they said somebody had a gun. But the dude in the green, that's the dude he shot. And that guy was running around saying he's going to stab people and all kinds of stuff. So that's a problem. It's a huge problem. And I was showed several messages that the young man who was shot, that he was threatening to kill other people and chopping them up and putting them in bags and yada, yada, yada. This guy's out of control. He's violent. So we're going to go into this case according to what the media's release of it is. So Poston faced multiple charges, including second-degree assault and possession of a handgun by a minor. Earlier indictments had included attempted murder, first-degree assault, and wanton endangerment. In September 2025, Poston entered guilty pleas to reduce charges. On November 14th, Special Judge Thomas Smith ordered him to serve 8 years in prison. The shooting occurred around 3:51 in the morning on October 6th on the top level of Pikeville parking garage. 2 people were injured, one shot in the leg, another in the foot. Pikeville police identified Poston as a shooter after victims arrived at Pikeville Medical Center. He admitted to firing his gun during the incident. Poston has been held in the Pike County Detention Center since May of 2025. Because the shooting happened 48 days before Poston's 18th birthday, he was initially treated as a juvenile. A grand jury later indicted him as an adult, exposing him to harsher sentences. Attempted murder and assault charges could have carried 10 to 20 years, while wanton endangerment carried 5 to 10 years. They got this wanton endangerment charge in Kentucky. Like you can pretty much take any crime and put it into wanton endangerment. It's really ridiculous. The handgun possession charge was a misdemeanor. His plea deal and sentencing reduced exposure from decades in prison to 8 years, aligning with Kentucky Commonwealth's recommendations. So there's a problem with that, and we're going to talk about the alleged victim. So the case against Brandon Poston was prosecuted by the Office of the Commonwealth's Attorney, Bill Sloan. So Bill Sloan is the prosecutor on this case. The special judge was Thomas Smith. Poston pled guilty. So we're going to look at... Uh-oh. Bonnie's getting started with the Andy Bashir stuff. Watch out. She's mad. So Bill Sloan has faced a lot of controversy in his career, and we're going to cover some of that. So he had an association with a major theft case. In 2019, Sloan's office prosecuted Pike County Attorney Timothy Belcher, who was indicted for allegedly stealing more than $800,000 from clients. For one, that should have been a conflict of interest, and he never should have been on that case. Sloan publicly explained how the theft was uncovered when victims tried to access settlement funds years later. That sounds kind of like Randall Weddle, like when the WB Transport people try to get their funding, and then poof, it's not there. Nobody knows where it went. You pay health insurance and you pay your retirements and you go to cash it out and it's not there. It's disappeared. And you're just supposed to shut up and don't worry about it. While Sloan was not accused of any wrongdoing in that case, his role in exposing and prosecuting the case put him in the spotlight. Sloan declared candidacy for Commonwealth's attorney in 2017 after a longtime prosecutor, Rick Bartley, retired. His background, Sloan's background is he was in the military, he was in law enforcement, and later he owned a business. It drew both praise and skepticism from Pike County voters, with some questioning whether his relatively recent law practice gave him enough prosecutorial experience. The local media has covered Sloan's commentary on charges like stalking and violent crime. I guess he's like the man when it comes to that. And then some residents have criticized his leniency in plea deals. So some people don't like what he does. Some people do. It just depends on what side of the law you're on, I reckon. So there's not really like any personal scandal himself, although I have this feeling that he is one of the people that testified against Judge Keith Hall. I don't know that for sure, but I have a theory as to that happening, but don't quote me on that. It's just a hypothetical. The guy in the green, I have to go back through my notes because I've been talking about this all day. So his name was Avery.
Here's a comedic skit about the upcoming Packers.
And I will get you his full name here in a second. Avery Meadows. The guy in the green holding the knife saying he's going to stab everybody and then threatening this Mariska. He says, "I'll kill you, Mariska. I'll cut your body into 3 to 4 separate trash bags and bury you under my house." And then he says, "I'm thinking about rotating my people your way." So This guy is out of control. Now, where I'm at on this in Pike County is they've got a group of kids running around violently assaulting each other, yada yada yada, all this stuff. Everything we saw in that video, there's more videos of them assaulting other people all over social media. Rodney Scott is the sheriff of Pike County. Rodney Scott, I'm sure this will get back to you because everything that I do, you guys watch, I know. You have failed your community 100%. You are not going to win this election for sheriff. Flat out. You're not going to. You failed. You have not been able to keep your community safe. You have a drug epidemic. You have a missing person epidemic, and you have serial killers running around all over the county. You guys don't solve any cases because you have too many criminal informants running around the county that you guys give immunity to run around and kill whoever they want. So for this young man to have to protect himself because you as a sheriff's office don't have a clue what's going on in your county, or you're just that ignorant to what happens in your county, it is a miscarriage of justice, and you should be removed from your position ASAP. And I know you think you're just the God's greatest gift to mankind, but you're really not. You're kind of a dumbass. And I think that you should probably just walk away. Your community is not happy with you. You have a very good candidate running against you in the sheriff's race, and you have not kept anybody in your community safe. None of the cases that I have brought up has nobody in your department ever tried to reach out to me and say, hey, what do you have? We would like to look into that case again. Not one single deputy has reached out to me. And I've turned in stuff to your office and you guys ignored it. So that tells me everything I need to know about the incompetency level, the ignorance level, and your lack of jurisdiction in your own community. Sorry, truth hurts. I know y'all don't like me. Kudos. It's reciprocal, I promise. I could give me a week, I'll clean Pike County up. Give me your sheriff's hat in a week in your county and I'll clean it. No, they don't. Rachel, that's the problem with that specific county is the sheriff is a complete tool and he's worthless as far as the hierarchy in the county goes. He's just shut up and do what you're told. Hey, shut up and look into this, but don't look into that. That's his role. He's just the dude who they tell to maneuver around. Just like in the Paul Coleman case, we get an indictment. They have yet to pick him up yet. And he's just supposed to show up on Tuesday and go to court, even though he's facing a second-degree manslaughter charge for shooting and killing Bacon Hurley. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran, honestly. However, nobody has a pair of balls because the court systems are the head of the mafia in Pike County. They are the head. Absolutely. So that's how it goes there. Their court systems are the most dangerous people in that county. Robbie Wright is one of the judges, and he's been tied in with a big case that basically they were running a child sex ring in the basement of this bar, and they just let it happen. The owner of the bar is the only one who really got arrested, and they charged him with human trafficking and sex trafficking and all that. They charged him with all that stuff, and then they gave him a slap on the wrist and told him just leave the state of Kentucky. But guess what? He never left the state of Kentucky. He's still in the town. And it destroyed his wife and destroyed his children, and they had to move to Tennessee. So all them guys are involved in all that kind of activity. Their court etiquette is probably the worst court etiquette I've ever seen. It's beyond me how any of those judges in there have a leg to stand on as far as their judicial ethics. They make the rules up as they go. They will not give you full. They will not, in certain cases, they will not give you your your discovery packets. They will not let you get open records requests. They block you on everything. They keep that stuff so tight knit. And it's because one of the rich guys in the town has a direct tie to Andy Bashir, who's the governor, who's going to try to run for president. So they know they've got a they have all the firewalls in the world to keep from getting really attacked too much. So that's what I have to deal with. I'm dealing with in that county like a legit power, and these guys have a lot of influence. Yeah, Randall Weddle does, but he's a dumbass. These guys actually, they're dumb, but they're not that dumb. They're not Randall Weddle dumb. So it's a little different. They just hide. They're not like Randall Weddle, where he wants to, every time I make a video, he wants to get on TV and go, you guys, the Justice for Laurel County page is really upsetting me. And the junior mayor and Mrs. Mayor, we're just really heartbroken that people think this way about us. Okay. Does anybody want to have a Christmas party? I'm giving away $10,000 bills. So that's how that goes. Now, speaking of Randall Weddle, here's some of the new stuff. His prized goon, I'm not even going to say his name because it's not worth saying, but he had, they had made this post, and this guy's the fighter is not really that relevant in anything. He's just a big mouth. But what screwed them, and they tried to backtrack on it and delete the post, but it was too late. Everybody's seen it. The police department sponsored this fighter individually. That is a huge ethics violation, and the police chief, Bobby Day, should probably be investigated for that conflict of interest, because now how is he ever going to hold that guy accountable? And that guy has a criminal history that long. So, and he lost his fight. So, which isn't that big of a deal. Fighters win, fighters lose. It happens. Nobody ever really is undefeated. But that was an issue. And then Randall Weddle went and made a video before the fight, a little interview with the police chief, Bobby Day. And it started off where they were doing this corny little, we're going to explain why the Doug Harless situation is not done, blah, 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 blah. The reason why they did that was to attack the Laurel County Facebook page, the Justice for Laurel County, because they are the resistance to Randall Weddle. So he gets on TV, him and Bobby Day, the police chief, who has the arresting authority in the town. And they basically come out and they're insinuating, yeah, we're looking into all you guys. We know what you're doing, and we're gonna make sure that we continue to mess with you. And that the leadership of that they even mentioned it. Like, Randall Weddle has no idea how to be a politician. I don't understand why he continues to pretend like he knows how to be a politician. I've spent probably the last 10 years of my life around politicians, and he has zero iota of an idea of how to be a politician. He just gets on any outlet he can and just spews whatever he wants. And he thinks that that's the law. And then he goes and he hires, what did he hire? A fire department physician on the city dollar that the city council never voted on. Like, how do you just hire a doctor? Here, the fire department needs a doctor. They need a physician. It's going to cost you $150,000 or whatever the guy's going to charge. But the city council had no say in that. Here's how it's going to be. Deal with it. That's not how the city government works. You can't just hire whoever you want. You're right, Rick. So corrupt. It's very corrupt. And Weddle's doing it more and more right out in the open because now he's won his impeachment hearing. So now he thinks he's bulletproof. So speaking of the Doug Harless situation, they've brought in a special prosecutor for that. And that special prosecutor has a very, very lengthy list of corrupt behavior. They brought him in from like the Wayne County, Russell area. He actually did a case in his county similar to the Doug Harless situation. And that case is the police shooting of Jeremy Bertram, which when I first started doing what I do on TikTok, that was one of the first cases that I did. And as soon as I heard the special prosecutor's name, I knew exactly. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the guy who botched the Jeremy Bertram case. Police shooting. I mean, Bertram came to the door. They basically came to do a wellness check to Jeremy Bertram because he has an angry ex that they were arguing. And so she calls and says, hey, he's suicidal and he's got PTSD and everything else. The guy is a decorated war hero. And so the cops show up and he's confused. Jeremy Bertram's confused. Why are cops at my house? Nobody's providing a warrant and he's got a handgun in his hand. And so the cops freak out. They tell him to drop the gun. They didn't even give him any time. It was, bro, drop the gun, boom, 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 boom. And they killed him. And now that one's got more gray area to it than Doug Harless. The Doug Harless situation's way worse. Now that we've seen the entire, well, not the entire video, but we've seen a very large hunk of the surveillance video from the ring cam from across the road. And you can, I don't know how many cops are out there, but it looks like there's cops running around everywhere. And they go in the middle of the night and start saying, please, please open the door. Blah, blah, blah. Then they bust the door down and they go in there and they just start shooting a guy who didn't commit a crime. He was just laying in bed sleeping. And they're going to try to argue that case away. You know, Bonnie, I'm glad you brought that up because this is what they're banking on. This is what these prosecutors and these police officers and everybody, this is what they're banking on. They're banking on the qualified immunity to save all these crooked cops, or the tumbleweed cop method where, hey, man, you're in a little trouble here, but I made a phone call to the next county. Or if you go down to Whitley County, my boy down there said he will hire you as a deputy, same rate of pay, all that. Just head on down the road. So that way this will go away. That's what they do. Instead of firing them and putting a red mark on their work history, they just cover it up and say, hey, man, just head on down the road. I got a buddy down there that'll hire you for the police department down there. And that's why I call them tumbleweed cops, because they just riding into the next jurisdiction. But the qualified immunity, that was the worst thing Trump could have done. At the time they did it, I thought, yes, what a great idea. But no, it's not a great idea. That qualified immunity has to go, because you're seeing abuses of power now on a massive scale, especially in Kentucky. We have it here in Georgia too. But we have so many watchdog groups here, like the NAACP, the ACLU. The cops relatively behave themselves here because they know if they make a mistake, and our cops here are required to wear body cams. So if you're caught on your body cam doing something unethical or violating somebody's constitutional rights, you're going to go down, because the NAACP is going to show up and they're going to eat your lunch, or the ACLU is going to show up and they're going to eat your lunch too. So we have watchdog groups here that keep our cops honest for the most part. I did watch a video of a Clayton County Sheriff's Office punching the shit out of somebody at a traffic stop. But that's, I'm sure he's probably getting put on leave by now because half the city saw it. But this is the thing. I think what they did was hypothetical. This is a theory. This isn't based on any fact. This is just me putting some things together, saying this is what I think happens. They're gonna brush the Doug Harless thing's gonna come back justified. They're gonna say, oh, there was no nothing illegal here, but the prosecutor can look at it and see for themselves. They brought in a guy who already botched a use of force case and got a no bill. Now, let me explain something to you. My dad will tell you this. When Victor Hill is on my show, he tells you the same thing because he knows he's got 35 years in law enforcement. He knows how it works. If I'm a prosecutor and somebody puts a case in front of me, right? So let's say the Doug Harless case is sitting in front of me right now. I've been a prosecutor for long enough to where I can go, oh yeah, I know exactly how to twist this to get it pushed through. Because there's an old saying, you can indict a ham sandwich. And that is absolutely true. Prosecutors get indictments on bullshit all the time. This is no different. They're going to take this and he's going to put it in front of the grand jury, and he's not going to fight it because in grand juries, it's all sealed. There's no gallery. You can't go in and sit and watch. There's no representation for Doug Harless in there. That's what the prosecutor's supposed to do. There's going to be no there may be representation for the police department in there. I would assume that Larry Bryson's stank ass is going to go in there and be part of that probably somehow. So it's going to get presented, and it's going to get returned as a no bill. And this guy's going to go back to his Wayne and Russell County as a failure, but he's going to say, who cares? And then Randall Weddle and Bobby Day's they're going to get on their little podcast again. They're going to go, so our integrity, we gotta back the blue. We gotta back these guys because we blah 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 blah. And they're gonna force you to support the police department because there's no bill. We were right the whole time. The problem is their no bill doesn't bring Doug Harless back to life. No matter how they look at it, it doesn't bring Doug Harless back to life. And me personally, I'm not going to accept a no bill. Now, I'm not saying get out in the streets with your pitchforks and burn the city down. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that if the no bill comes, the fight begins. And now I'm going to go dig up more stuff because I'm going to go tear Larry Bryson apart. And then I'm going to go tear the rest of them apart. And then I'm going to go tear Bobby Day apart. Why isn't he a KSP officer anymore? Does he have too many discipline issues, just like every other former KSP officer? I used to work at KSP. Well, why don't you work there no more? They definitely pay way more than your city cop job. Why aren't you a KSP officer anymore? Did you get told that, hey, you're too liable, leave? Because as much crime as they cover up for their cops with the Kentucky State Police, you got to be a real screw up to get kicked out of the KSP. Gee, bro, what's up, man? And yes, Bonnie, there is also the $5 million loan that Randall Weddle tried to take out on behalf of the city that the city council never voted on as well. That is a crime. That is fraud. So it's beyond me how there's been no indictment on that alone. He's admitted that he did it. That Randall Weddle should be facing a felony charge right now. It's there. The evidence is there. Who's your circuit court judge? Caperton? Somebody who does felonies. That's whose fault this is right now. There should be an indictment. Actually, it's going to fall back on John Root because he's the arresting authority over the mayor of a town. No, Bryson's not going to present that. He's the well, he is best friends with Steve Bashir, so we're being told. I'm gonna find that out too. I'm gonna find all kinds of records on Larry Bryson, or I'm gonna find out if he buys cocaine off the cocaine dealer down the street. I'm gonna find it all out because I'm gonna go ask his former colleagues. I'm not going to ask the town of London. I'm going to go find all his former colleagues, the ones that have probably a lot of stuff to say about him. So that's where we're at. I think with the Doug Harless case, I believe that the fix is in. I think pretty much a lot of the town believes that the fix is in. I pray that that's not the case, because at the end of the day, Doug Harless needs justice. The family needs closure. This needs to get put to rest. This town's never going to heal until the justice part of Doug Harless gets taken care of. So that's it. I'm out. Everybody be safe. And everybody have a good Thanksgiving. I'm going to be back on Wednesday. I don't take holidays off, so I'm going to be there. But I'm out. Peace.